Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. And welcome back to Secret Origins Month. Originally, I was only going to focus on Cyborg's first appearance because of his increased prominence in media outside of comics over the last several years, but his first appearance coincides with two others, so we're getting a threefer. Still, let's start with Cyborg and his increased presence, and why that is both a good and a bad thing. As we saw with the March of the Titans retrospective, Cyborg got the shaft over his character's life. A lot. From becoming less and less human to gaining something of a normal appearance to losing it again and going back to square one, things were rough on the young football star turned machine man. But then in the 2000s, probably because of his increased leadership role in the Teen Titans during Geoff Johns' run, coupled with his appearance in the Teen Titans cartoon, Cyborg suddenly found himself more heavily promoted. His own miniseries, membership on the Justice League, helps that both Dick Grayson and Donna Troy were members at the time too, and it was all well deserved. The problem is what then happened with the New 52 and subsequently the Justice League movie. See, I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of classic superheroes are white guys. Lots and lots of white guys. And since Hal Jordan is iconic, we couldn't possibly have had John Stewart in the Green Lantern role for the League, even though younger people recognize John instead of Hal thanks to the Justice League cartoon. And since changing the skin color of any of these characters in a reboot would just be silly, they needed someone non-white for the team who had some sort of prominence and pop culture knowledge. And thus Cyborg started with the Justice League in the New 52 in the movie instead of the Teen Titans. And on the Doom Patrol too, because why not just have Cyborg on every single team except the one he originally started on? I know that's a bit of a weird rant to have when I'm supposed to be talking about character origins, but screw it. I've been waiting for an excuse to talk about that, and it's my show, so I can do what I want. I'm happy with the increased prominence of the character, but I'm annoyed with the likely reason for his altered affiliations. In 2011, Geoff Johns tried to justify his inclusion in the New 52 Justice League with this nonsense. He represents all of us in a lot of ways. If we have a cell phone and we're texting on it, we are a cyborg. That's what a cyborg is, using technology as an extension of ourselves.
It's totally inapplicable to anything that's going on here. And it's dumb.
He also called him the modern-day 21st century superhero. He was created in 1980! But let's talk about his creation. He was, of course, made to be a member of Marv Wolfman and George Perez's new Teen Titans book. Being a black character in a time when there weren't a lot of prominent black superheroes was part of it, and a stereotype with black characters in comics was that they were very embittered about their race and the struggles they dealt with as being black. They were just constantly angry. Wolfman and Perez wanted to break away from that stereotype by having his anger be directed at a very specific situation rather than institutional racism, becoming a cyborg, and soften him over time to show off how warm and caring he was. An interesting aspect that George Perez foresaw for the character was that with the rapid development of technology and its changing appearance, that they might need to update his look over the years to better match with technology of the day. The cutting edge of one decade is retro and obsolete in the next, meaning that if he had been invented today, he would have looked like a friggin' iPhone or something. Moving on to Starfire, she was Wolfman's creation, wanting a strong female alien character. Perez trying to make her appear somewhat feline, but drew inspiration from Red Sonja for the skimpy costume. When writing the new characters introduced for the book, Wolfman crafted intricate backstories for Starfire and Raven, not so much Cyborg since he was grounded in a normal life kind of thing before the accident that made him him, to show that they had full lives before they ever became Titans. Starfire's in particular was about all the hardships she had endured, torture and experimentation by the Gordanians, the betrayal of her sister, all that, and yet still emerged optimistic and joyful. Perez, on the other hand, once admitted that she was created to be the group's sex symbol before talking about how much he enjoyed drawing healthy women. Dude, you already sound creepy when you talk like that. Just admit you like boobs and get it over with. With Raven, Marv Wolfman once described the team dynamics. Starfire as extroverted, happy, and outgoing, Raven as introverted and sad, with Wonder Girl in the middle of them. The male characters operated in the same way, Nightwing acting as a balance between Beast Boys, or Changelings at the time, impetuous and emotional state, versus Cyborg's somewhat more restrained personality. And Kid Flash was there because shut up. It was all about playing the group off of each other for their character development and interpersonal conflicts to create drama. Raven's creation was partly thanks to fellow writer Len Wein, who worked with Wolfman to create some of the characters. Wein pushed for a mystic character for the group, though Wolfman hated the idea, didn't want a Phantom Stranger or Doctor Strange type hanging around, so Wein pushed him to do something different with the idea, hence Raven. From an artistic side, Perez described Raven as very angular. High cheekbones, straight-nosed, kind of pointy chin. Then there's this quote. Raven has developed, recently, a dancer's body in which her breasts have gotten smaller. I gave Raven a body based on a young lady, Fran McGregor, who's built with a very attractive dancer's body. She goes to the same school as my wife, Carol. Honey, I have to look at your friend's boobs. It's for work. So originally I was planning on covering the New Teen Titans #1, but it turns out the New Teen Titans #1 is not the first appearance of the team. No, it comes from an issue of DC Comics Presents, which was reprinted near the end of the first volume of the book, when it was briefly rebranded as Tales of the Teen Titans, and as you can imagine, was quite confusing to me reading through it for the first time, since it's kind of non-canon. But that's something we can get into more in the story itself. So let's dig into DC Comics Presents number 26, the first appearance of the New Teen Titans, in particular, Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man, punch, wears a birdie hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
DC Comics Presents was an anthology book, so naturally the cover has nothing at all to do with the Titans, instead showing Green Lantern attacking Superman. Stop it, Green Lantern! Your kryptonite is killing me! Precisely what I had in mind, Superman. I'm sorry, Superman, but that kryptonite is over there, and don't you think that over there needs to take care of its own problems? Plus, what did ever happen to Sargon the Sorcerer? My guess? Tax fraud? But no, we're interested in this extra special free, aside from that 50 cents for the book itself, of course, 16-page preview of the New Teen Titans. It even has its own separate cover, featuring our heroes attacking some kind of yellow blob thing on top of a building. This is what happens when you leave butter out for too long. Watch out, world! Here come the New Teen Titans! Unfortunately, that's referring to the blob. Where nightmares begin! So, is Cyborg, like, running up the wall of the building? I didn't know he could do that. We open outside Star Labs in New York, where 5 terrorists have taken the building. They're holding a new solar reactor, as well as a single hostage scientist. Robin is on hand to assist. Where do dreams end and nightmares begin? Usually when YouTube announces they're changing something. The terrorists are demanding the release of their fellows from the Freedom Resistance League, which sounds less like a terrorist group and more like a really generic, crappy insurance company. Or else they'll detonate the reactor. I don't know what a solar reactor is, but presumably blowing it up would kill a lot of people. As such, Robin decides to head in and try to deal with them himself, especially since they're sniping cops from the high window. But before he can throw a rope line, he suddenly feels dizzy and collapses. When Robin shakes it off, however, he suddenly finds himself next to Donna Troy, aka Wonder Girl. She says that he needs to stop fooling around or else they'll be late for the Titans meeting. To his utter confusion, he also realizes they're in front of Titan's Tower instead of Star Labs. And the day you don't recognize Titan's Tower... Titan's what? I've never been here before in my life! Robin, you say that every time I try to talk to you about the property taxes. Inside the tower is Changeling, who wants to know who summoned them for this meeting since he was in the middle of hitting on a flight attendant. I had the cutest stewardess ready and raring to go. Then the stupid Titan's alarm had to go and ruin everything. The teenager thinks he was going to have sex with an adult woman. That's our Gar! Cyborg walks out and Robin doesn't know who he is. What's with you, Batboy? Your shorts too tight or something? I mean, not that any of the fangirls are complaining. Starfire flies in. Don't let them bother you, Robin. I still love you. This planet would still seem strange to me if it weren't for you. You taught me many things, like how alien visitors have to wear bikinis all the time. It makes so much sense. Robin is still baffled, since from his perspective, the Titans had disbanded months ago. The only ones here I know are Wonder Girl and Beast Boy. Look, it's Changeling! Do I have to paint it on my forehead? Beast Boy was nowhere! Changeling has got style, rhythm, pizzazz! It's sad when a person's rebranding effort fails so utterly. This is why people still think of me as a lamp reviewer and nothing more. Kid Flash enters and Robin recognizes him, but of course he finds nothing wrong with all this. Robin starts to wonder if he's the problem, since everyone else is acting fine, but it's like a part of his life has been blacked out. For long moments, Robin stares silently ahead. Well, there's your answer, Dick. Apparently you start spacing out and stare at the wall for months at a time. Raven teleports in, informing them that she's the one who summoned them. Don't tell me, another Titan. Who's this one? The Wicked Witch of the West? Nah, it's actually Glinda. She's going through a goth phase right now. Don't be silly. You know Raven as well as I do. Okay, is no one at all curious about why Robin doesn't know who they are? Seems like that should be a priority. Starfire asks Raven what's up. Danger lurks in the city of men. The cities of women and non-binary people are fine, though. She talks about a scientist who, in seeking a dream, found a nightmare instead. Ah, so he came to work with no pants on. I've had that dream. And reality, too. What? I work from home. For all you people know, I'm completely pantsless under the edge of the camera. She, I guess, telepathically shows images of the scientist in question using a device to open a gateway into another dimension. You know, between this, Poison Ivy's little concoction last week for Harley, Dr. Erdell's machine that pierces space-time and other dimensions, and what we're covering next week, maybe I should have labeled this Secret Origins month, What Has Science Wrought? This particular dimension he looked into featured only one form of life. A single, but giant, protoplasmic cell that possessed intelligence and purpose. And upon sensing the gateway to another universe, it apparently decided, cool, I'm gonna crash here and throw a party! It must be returned to its dimension immediately, for, in order to survive here on Earth, it is altering our atmosphere, from oxygen to methane! Methane? That'll kill everyone! Thanks for that clarification, Cyborg. Otherwise, people might think that transforming the oxygen in the atmosphere into anything is just okay. Can we stop it? Probably not. Eternal optimist Garfield Logan, everyone. Speaking of, he wants to give the Titans rallying cry. But they haven't come up with one yet. Forget it, I'll come up with one some other time. Titans, tally-ho! And so they head out. Robin, of course, still confused by all this, but hey, Blob destroying the planet probably should do something about that first. And less than 2 minutes later, find themselves caught in the throes of a nightmare come to life. Hey guys, do you get that this is a nightmare? Or that a dream is becoming a nightmare? Maybe if they write it in 80 more times, the point will be made. They arrive at the building where the blob has already grown to encompass most of the top of it, and we take the opportunity to show off some powers, like Raven's soul self that she uses to try to learn more about the creature. However, it envelops the soul self, and Raven's out of action as a result, while the others aren't having much luck with their own powers. Robin sneaks into the building. One moment I'm going after terrorists, the next I'm taking on a special effect from The Empire Strikes Back. Ah yes, who could forget that scene of Yoda lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp right before a giant blob emerged from the swamp and ate him. However, he suddenly gets dizzy again and wakes up to find himself right back in front of Star Labs, where a cop has knocked him over because he almost stumbled right into the path of a bullet. There are no Teen Titans, no Cyborg or Raven or Starfire. It must have been some sort of bad dream. Whew, it's a good thing I'm never going to interact with those people. Man, what a bunch of weirdos. Using his new rocket grappler, he heads to the roof of the building, expositing to himself the entire way through how weird that all was. There's nothing physically wrong with me, though I wonder if my recent problems with Bruce might have something to do with it. Ever since I dropped out of college, there's been a storm brewing between us. It's a good thing I'm being so quiet and stealthy about Bruce Wayne, who is Batman, and my college problems that someone could use to determine my identity. Unfortunately, the dizzy spells hit again, and he's right back in the building attacked by the Blob, which is now going after him. The rest of the Titans are, of course, still having their own problems, but Cyborg manages to get in close enough to jam his white sound generator right into it at point-blank range, forcing it back. The Blob seems to disappear, Raven's soul self returning to her body. All throughout this, Kid Flash has been really worried about Raven, a result of a storyline in the early days of the book where Raven used her powers to make Wally fall in love with her so he would join the team. Lest we forget that even the good guys in comics can sometimes be really messed up. And Raven teleports off to try to find the creature herself. Raven's disappeared again, and Kid Flash looks like he just swallowed his last piece of gum. Flash is a jerk. That witch is even less human than I am. That's our Cyborg, aka Dictor Stone. Robin has a hunch where the creature disappeared to, and the Titans proceed to Star Labs, where it first appeared apparently. How'd it get all the way to that building? Much to Cyborg's irritation. Before he can try to exit, the Blob attacks. Fortunately, Cyborg's original attack back at the building must have wounded the creature, since now their powers are having more of an effect. The scientist who brought the creature to this universe crawls in, saying he knows how to return it to its own dimension. All except Starfire follow him out of the room so she can drain the oxygen from it. Starfire apparently doesn't need to breathe air. I'm pretty sure that ended up being retconned later. With no oxygen to convert to methane, it should force the creature back through the gate to its own universe. One might wonder why it would go back to the one place it shouldn't want to go, but remember, this thing can think, so it probably realized, oh crap, these guys can hurt me. Better have a place I can retreat to in case I fail. Or maybe it's just stupid. Just because it has intelligence doesn't mean it's not an idiot. Starfire forces it back into the dimensional hole and then destroys the computers so it can't return. Thank the Lord! If it had remained free much longer. It's all my fault. I brought it here without thinking. It was my dream to probe another dimension. A dream that turned into a nightmare! At this point, I'm wondering if they keep saying it because they hope Freddy Krueger's gonna jump out. It's at this point where it's revealed that this is Silas Stone, Cyborg's father, and the one who, well, made him like he is. Interestingly, while he died in the original continuity a short time into the New Teen Titans run, almost every other iteration of him, New 52, movies, TV shows, he's alive and still helping out Victor. I'm of two minds about that. On one hand, it's a bit of a cliche for superheroes to have dead parents, add a little more angst and tragedy into their lives, so it's nice to have living parental figures who can help their kids with their superheroing. But on the other hand, in the New Teen Titans, that same tragedy was used to good effect in the book, creating character development for Cyborg, and one of my favorite moments from the Technus Imperative, where it was finally a hologram of his father that got Cyborg to fully restore his humanity. In any case, Robin suddenly appears with the cops again, apparently having saved the day off-screen. Apparently he had muttered something about pumping out the air in the labs, which got the terrorists to finally surrender without anyone getting injured. And indeed, Silas Stone is there too, apparently having been the inventor of the solar reactor. It was my dream to make that reactor the new power source to help humanity. But those vicious men, they took my dream, corrupted it, turned it into a horrible, terrible nightmare! Is Marv Wolfman getting paid by the nightmare? Why did he keep saying that? Robin wonders what the hell the deal is with all this, especially the inclusion of Dr. Stone into this whole thing when he had never met him before. Nearby, it turns out that Raven is the one responsible for this. No, Robin. Very soon, all that you have seen will make sense to you. Spoilers, it does not. He's still utterly baffled about the whole thing in the first issue of the New Teen Titans, and it's never brought up again after the first few pages, making this entire story pretty much pointless. And so our story ends with narration. We asked, where do dreams end and nightmares begin? Perhaps a better question would be, where do nightmares end and reality begin? Well, if that was the question, why the hell did you repeat the first one so often? This comic is okay for the most part, just kind of confusing. As I said, in the first issue of the new Teen Titans, Robin will mention having this same dream for a week before Raven finally comes to him and helps him recruit the others. But why this particular scenario? Why a vision of the future like this where Robin is just so confused about what's going on? And why do it in the middle of him trying to deal with terrorists? I get what Marv Wolfman's complaint was in regards to Raven and other mystical characters. They make stupid decisions for the sake of being mysterious and often don't have a reasonable explanation for why they do it. It's just needed for the plot to happen. What's more, the blob creature seen here somewhat resembles the blob that is actually responsible for turning Victor Stone into a cyborg. Similar idea, except in this case the blob crushed half his body, and thus Silas used his knowledge of cybernetics to save him. Most newer works tend to simplify it into just being an explosion or a car accident or something. Starfire and Raven usually keep their own backstories fairly intact in other works. As for the story itself, it's fine. Like I said, the weird framing device of the hallucination really doesn't make much sense, but as an adventure, it's good. Shows off the abilities of the various Titans, as well as their contrasting personalities. I suppose as a preview of the series to come, they wanted to show the Titans in action as a group, while not just telling a story set in the middle of their run, which might be jarring for readers. It's like tuning into a TV show in the middle of a season-long storyline or something. You might get the gist of it, but odds are it'll be harder to connect with the characters. Instead, having Robin serve as the viewpoint character, just as confused as the audience, allows us to see the team with fresh eyes while not being lost and still seeing the group dynamics. I just wish they didn't have to repeat the dreams and nightmares thing like 6 times. It almost felt like a joke by the end that we weren't in on. Next time, Secret Origins Month concludes not with a new character, but the beginning of something far greater. The first appearance of the DC Multiverse. For this was no dream that you have experienced. The new Teen Titans are no figment of your imagination. Indeed, Robin, they exist. They are your future. A future that looms ever and ever closer. It's a good thing I have the power to tell the future. I'm sure that will be incredibly helpful if someone was ever going to betray us, or if I was possessed by evil spirits, or hundreds of other terrible things happening to us. No, it's actually Glinda. She's going through a goth phase right now. Really? Like, I set down a second script that she wants to, because she wanted to sit on the, lay down on the script that I'm reading from. So I'm like, okay, you can just lay down to this old one from like last week. And no, she wants the one that I'm reading from. Hello, my friends. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell, and share it with others. And if you get a chance, maybe check out my Patreon.